This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Shalom Aleichem. How's everybody doing? Okay, so we're continuing in the Sefer, Tzipisa Yeshua of the Holy Chafetz Chaim. And the way the Chafetz Chaim is setting up the scene for the coming of Mashiach is that there are two groups of people. Those who remain steadfast and those who defect. Those who defect and those who remain steadfast, they both bring Mashiach closer. Some do it on the good team and some are on the bad team, but they're both making it closer. We said yesterday, the Chafetz Chaim said that for 2,000 years basically, Hashem was doing us a favor. We were better off for Mashiach not coming. Obviously, otherwise Hashem would not have withheld it. And that's because the longer it took for Mashiach to come, our schar was increased. Our schar was increased, number one, awaiting the coming of Mashiach, and number two, observing the Torah despite the difficulties of the time. Because as we're going to see, and we'll have to explain more at length, Be'ez Hashem next week, my friend Rabbi Glatstein was asking, how could it be that it was good for the Jewish people, for Mashiach not to come, and yet at the same time, it was not good for Hashem? Well, we'll have to study that more next week. But this is all predicated on the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Kuf Nun Aleph Amud Beis, and we'll get to this at the end of Parak Aleph, where the Gemara darshans the pasuk. Remember your Creator in your youth. Zecharos barech v'mei b'churaisecha. Ad asher lo yavo yemei hara, before the days come, v'higiu shanim, and the years are achieved, asher tomer, that you say of them, ein li bahem chayfetz, I don't want them. Chazal say, what is this referring to? Mashiach. Chazal say Mashiach are days we don't want. The reason we don't want it is because it's not good for us. Because we can't really get schar from mitzvahs. That's the Gemara. Ultimately, it's good for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if it's good for Hashem, then we stand to gain. But in terms of pure reward and punishment, which halavai we should be on that madrega, it's not really good for us. And that's the reason why Hashem delayed it. However, says the Chafetz Chaim, in his times, because of the chutzpah yaske, because of the great chutzpah, because of the great audacity, and the Chafetz Chaim describes the audacity in his generation, where the youth have the chutzpah to impugn, to make away with Gedolim of earlier generations, even Amoraim, even Tanoim. And therefore, says the Chafetz Chaim, for the first time in history, you see, for 2,000 years, it was the sole desire of fathers and mothers to give over to their children. It was the sole desire of children to accept from their parents. And therefore, Klal Yisrael not having Mashiach was to elevate and to increase their schar. But unfortunately, the generation has come where the children say to the father, say to the mother, thanks but no thanks, not interested. So when that point has come, when that chutzpah has reached, then there's no choice. It's the 11th hour. Hashem has to bring the Mashiach. And yesterday, we spoke about how in our times, the level of chutzpah has risen even beyond that, where more than just demeaning earlier generations, there's the audacity to challenge not only the stature of great people, but to challenge the common sense reality of a human being. So the Chafetz Chaim continues that because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will never forsake His children, like it says in Shmuel, Levilti yidach mimenu nidach, so that He does not cast away anyone. Ki heim banav, they are His children, b'nei bachurav, His firstborn, asher netalam unasam mimaysailam, that Hashem has carried us and bore us and bared our burden from Mimaysailam, from the days of yore, kedachsiv, like the pasuk says in the Teichachav b'chukaisai, v'yaf gam zois. The pasuk says, and despite all this, b'yoisam be'eretz oiveyam, even though when they're in the land of their enemy, Perush HaKadosh Baruch Hu higlas Yisrael, Hashem exiled the Jewish people. Sheyetivu es maaseyim sham, that we should improve our ways. Behagiam chamas hamatzikim. And despite the torment of the oppressor, vehem yoisifu la'asei zois gam sham. And yet, nevertheless, and Klal Yisrael, even in the land of their enemy, they continue their bad ways. B'chol zois, nevertheless, loy ma'astim, God will not despise us. V'loy ga'altam, He will not be repelled by us. L'chaloisam, to destroy us. L'hafer brisi itam, to annul His covenant with us. V'amru Chazal interpret this pasuk, loy ma'astim, Hashem will not despise us. Bimei kazdim, in the times of the Chaldeans, shehemarati lohem, that He established for them, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. V'loy ga'altam, He was not repelled by them. Bimei Yevanim, in the times of the Greeks. Shehemarati lohem, God says, I established for them Shimon HaTzadik. V'chashmonayu banav, Shimon and the Chashmonaim and his sons. L'chaloisam, to destroy them. Bimei Haman. Shehemarati lohem Mordechai ve'Esther. L'hafer brisi itam bimei Parsiyim. Shehemarati lohem beis Rebbe. Ki ani Hashem Elokeim, I am Hashem la'asalavi in the future. In other words, despite our sinful ways, God is committed to us that He will not be disgusted and repelled by us, and He will ultimately fulfill His commitment to us. So let's see the upshot before we continue Bez Hashem next week. Nimtza comes out, Sheshnei Sugei Anoshim Sheyimatzu Be'ez Ha'achroina. It comes out that the two categories of people that will exist in the end of days, Shneim Yikarvu Sagula, they will both bring the Geulah closer. Eila b'maaseyim ha'tovim, these with their good deeds, the goydel ha'metzuka she'em soivlim, and the abundant distresses they have to tolerate. Ve'eila b'maaseyim asher lo tovim, and the others with their deeds that are not good. So, if you want to know what are people doing today, everyone is bringing Mashiach closer. The only thing is, some are doing it on the right team, on the winning team, and some are doing it on the losing team. Umuvan hadavar, it's self-understood. Ki tov yoyser l'adam liyas me'atovim v'lo me'aram. It's better for men to be from the good ones and not the bad ones. Says the Chafetz Chaim, v'chol zeh shekosavnu, all of the above, merumaz b'Torah b'Parshas Hazinu, is alluded to in the Torah in Parshas Hazinu. Dekoi nami b'inyan achras hagula, which is speaking about the end of the redemption. Like the pasuk says in Hazinu, Ki yadin Hashem amai, God will judge His people. V'al avadav yisnecham, and He will relent to His servant. Ki yira, He will see. Ki ozlas yad, He will see that protection has ceased. Ve'efes atzur v'azov, meaning ki yira ki azas yad, He will see that we are in sorrow. He will see that we're not being protected and we're not being helped. Ki azas yad, ve'efes atzur v'azov, we're not being protected, we're not being helped. And Rashi explains, V'hainu ki yadin Hashem amai, God will judge His people, yisnachem legalam, God will relent to redeem His people. Mishum shegam avadav yinasunam b'tzara, because He'll see His servant is placed in distress. V'yira ki azasyan, He'll see there's no help. Perosh, meaning shahalach koichan shal Yisrael liyos oid bagala, the strength of Klal Yisrael to endure the Galus will have depleted. In other words, says the Chafetz Chaim, for 2,000 years it was worth the delay. Why was it worth the delay? Because Hashem knew we would remain steadfast, and despite the difficulties, we would cling to Him. But now we've reached the point that we can't hang on any longer. When that point comes, says the Chafetz Chaim, the Rebbeinu Shalom has no alternative than to redeem us. Ki efes atzur v'azov, because no one is being saved and no one is being helped. That means hainu she'afas behechlet koyach hamachzik das kodesh. That is definitively the power of those who remain strong to the religion, the holy religion, has been completely depleted. She'ein b'koichan shel Yisrael oid lahachzik. The Jewish people no longer have the strength to endure the galus. So this is the basic setup of the Chafetz Chaim, that everyone in this world is bringing the Mashiach ever closer. It's just, you want to make sure you're on the winning team. And whatever conditions the Chafetz Chaim described in his times, whatever chutzpah the Chafetz Chaim described in his times, have not been diminished. The likelihood, therefore, of the Geulah coming for us has not diminished. If anything, it has increased. Okay, we'll continue Be'ezus Hashem next week on Monday. Thank everybody for joining us. Be'ezus Hashem, please join us tonight, 8:30, for our weekly Shiur, how Shabbos protects us from the Teichacha. Have a good day, everyone. Bracha v'atzlacha.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.